With that West up for grabs, the San Diego Chargers going into today with a record of 3-0. With less than a minute left at Foxborough, they are trailing the Patriots by the score of 27-21. Chargers looking to make it back off a 1-yard run by Clarence Williams.
And it makes it very important for this game, mainly because Denver and Seattle are chasing San Diego, leading the AFC West. The loser here might have trouble getting back in the race.
Here's a look at that touchdown as Fouts will hand off to Clarence Williams, and this plus the extra point will cut it down to the 27-21 situation they are right now in the final minute of play at Foxborough. Well, Mike is a one-time receiver in the National Football League. I know that you admire the receiving combination of Seattle last week, combination of Jim Zorn and Steve Largent, and whipping Oakland 27-10.
And the Seahawks didn't get off to a good start passing, but Jim Zorn had a big day against Oakland last week. Over 200 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Steve Largent, the leading wide receiver in the National Football League as far as receptions last year, 71, had 5 catches last week for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they were the key against Oakland.
At the same time, the Broncos were defeating the Atlanta Falcons in overtime off a solid performance by Bronco quarterback Norris Weiss.
And there has been a controversy here in Denver. The #1 quarterback job has been taken over by Weiss from Craig Morton, who took him to the Super Bowl, and the jury's still out on Weiss. We'll watch him very closely today.
And Denver able to win it in overtime on the field goal by Jim Turner, who is now the #2 leading scorer in the history of the National Football League.
And also, the last time Seattle and Denver met last season, Jim Turner kicked a field goal in overtime to win it. He could be the guy that does it again today.
We have Denver and Seattle upcoming here on NBC, and we'll be back right after these words. We welcome you back to Mile High Stadium, Denver, Colorado. This is Marv Albert along with Mike Hafner, and we're set for the tough defense of the Denver Broncos against the high-powered Seahawks of Seattle. The referee is Gene Barth, the umpire Tom Myers, head linesman Jerry Bergman, the line judge Bob McLaughlin, the back judge Ben Tompkins, the side judge Dean Look, the field judge Fritz Grant. Denver won the toss. They will receive. Bernard Jackson is back deep, along with rookie Zachary Dixon, who has just re-signed during the course of the week. And you can hear the crowd right at the start as Efren Herrera gets set to kick it off.
And they're going crazy in Denver, Marv. It's Orange Sunday, as the mayor has designated, and these fans in Denver, as most of the country knows, just go crazy for their club.
Sellout crowd, better than 75,000 on hand, and we're underway. The return by Zachary Dixon, and the recovery by the Seahawks.
Zach Dixon was just picked up and signed by the Broncos, and there's a rookie who has made a mistake and given the Seahawks perfect field position. Dixon again filling in for the injured Preston, who went down with a knee injury, is now on injured reserve, and Zach Dixon out of Temple gets his baptism in the NFL, and it costs the Denver Broncos right off the bat.
Harry Justin, back up, quarterback out of Oregon State, on the recovery, and the Seahawks go to work. This is Sherman Smith picking up 3 yards on the play. Jack Petir starting with Sherman Smith and Dan Dorning at the running backs. The quarterback is Jim Zorn, coming off the superb day against Oakland, 277 yards, 3 TDs.
Steve Largent, Sam McCullen, Brian Peets. Steve Largent, 6 receptions last week, 2 touchdowns. He is one of the best in the NFL.
And Zorn to throw on 2nd down, and he completes it. Duke Ferguson, wide receiver, a 3-year pro out of San Diego State, bumped out of bounds by Lewis Wright. Seattle with Nick Bebout, Steve August at the tackles, Tom Lynch, Ron Coder at the guards, the center, John Yarno. The injured David Sims last week in motion. And Sherman Smith off the play act. Down to the 15. Marty Jameis, the defensive left end, number 79, on the tackle. As you look at that front 3 of Denver.
And Bryson Manor has taken over for the departed Lyle Alzado and has been a big force for the Broncos. There are the linebackers, Swenson, Rizzo, Gradishar, Jackson. Gradishar won every MVP award for defense last year. That's the best crew in the NFL right there.
Jackson making it back after missing the game against Atlanta with a sprained calf. 2nd and 8 from the 15 for the Seahawks of Seattle. That's Dorning fighting his way down to the 11-yard line. Dan Dorning, a second-year pro out of Washington State, picked up in a mystifying trade with the New York Giants. Mystifying to Giant fans back in New York as you look at that Denver secondary.
Steve Foley, Billy Thompson, been in the league 11 years. Bernard Jackson and Louis Wright, who most receivers say is the best that ever played corner.
So here's the 3rd and 4. Zorn to throw, goes for the end zone, but it is incomplete. The intended receiver was Ferguson from 28 yards out.
Big left for the Bronco defense. They held him to a field goal after that terrible turnover.
And Herrera puts it through. 28-yard field goal. The Seattle Seahawks with a happy coach Jack Patera, although he rarely will smile to show his happiness, able to jump in front of the Broncos at the this juncture. The score is 3-0. There's the secret to our success. The pins and the spotting board. I'm Marv Albert. This is Mike Hafner as we are all set for the kickoff of Efren Herrera with Chris Payne and Zachary Dixon. Back deep. And here is Herrera. And once again taken by Dixon to the 10. And down across the 20-yard line. So Zachary Dixon with a second opportunity. He coughed it up on the opening kickoff, tripped up by Peter Cronin. And for the first time, Denver will go to work first down at the 21-yard line. Rob Lytle replacing the injured Dave Preston and Jim Jensen in that backfield with Norris Weiss at quarterback.
Rick Upchurch, Haven Moses, and Riley Odom. There's 3 great ones, and Upchurch is the game breaker.
3-0 Seahawks lead. 28-yard field goal by Efren Herrera early in this first quarter doing it. That's Moses peeling off. And Lytle, straight ahead move. 2nd and 4 for Denver at their 27-yard line. They are trailing 3-0. This is Jensen trying to pick his way through. Out near the first down marker, but short by a yard. Terry Beeson, middle linebacker, making the stop as you take a look at the Denver offensive line.
And Dave Studdard, they finally found a left tackle in Denver. He was a free agent who had been with Baltimore last year. That's the problem area, though, for the Broncos, that offensive line.
And here is the 3rd and 1 for the Broncos. Lytle smacked up. We'll have to wait and see where his progress was marked. And he will be short as Beeson, the middle linebacker, was able to fill the hole as you look at the Seattle defensive line of Ernie Price, Robert Hartburn Hardy, Mano Tuiasosopo, and Bill Gregory.
You did good on Tuiasosopo.
It's 2 weeks in a row, Mike.
He was their first-round draft choice and an outstanding football player.
This is Luke Prestridge, rookie out of Baylor, getting sent to Budawood. Back deep is Jeff Moore. And that's Moore across the 30 to the 40. And out of bounds. Good run back by Jeff Moore. So there's a timeout on the field with the score. The Seattle Seahawks 3 and the Denver Broncos nothing. All right, Zorn with the pitch. This is Dorning outside, out to midfield. Dan Dorning, who had a superb game last week in his first start, replacing the injured David Sims, was run out by the combination of Gradishar and the strong safety, Bill Thompson. 2nd and 5 from the 48. Smith and Dorning, the running back. That's Largent moving. And here's Dorning again. Crowd urging on the Denver defensive unit, 3rd and 1. Picked up. Well, let's see, a penalty marker is down. It's close to the first down.
Illegal head bob, quarterback.
We had it perfect. Zorn bobbed his head before the snap. He's been warned about that.
It is a 3rd and 6 now, back at the 47-yard line. McCullough slot left. Smith and Dornick are back, and here's Zorn to throw. Incomplete. The intended receiver fell down as Lewis White was covering on the play. Dornick, the intended receiver, out on the left line.
Dornick slipped and fell. Zorn was looking just for the first down, had that receiver in mind all the time. When he went down, Zorn had no chance.
Kansas City leading the Oakland Raiders 21-0 in the 3rd quarter. We saw Oakland lose to Seattle convincingly last week, although that last touchdown that the Seahawks went for has created some controversy. Herman Weaver punting away and keeping it away from Rick Upchurch. And the roll is down across the 5-yard line.
Outstanding punt by Herman Weaver, who was here in the Denver Broncos camp last year, beaten out by Bucky Dilts, who was subsequently beaten out by Luke Prestridge.
A 50-yard punt by Weaver. A timeout is called. When we resume, it'll be Denver's football. Seattle head coach Jack Patera, the AFC Coach of the Year last season after the Seahawks rolled up a record of 9-7, only their 3rd year of existence. It is a 1st and 10 for Denver.
Dead field position, and the Seahawks have put the pressure on the Bronco offense.
Back at the 4-yard line, Jensen and Lytle, the running back. Moses coming across. And here's Lytle with short yardage. Denver down 3-0. This is Lytle following blockers and is able to get it out of danger. It was Paul Howard, number 60, leading Rob Lytle. Here's Lytle again on the sweep. Not able to get outside. That is Jeff Moore back deep, awaiting the punt from Luke Prestridge. Prestridge has been getting the good hang time, still working on his directional punting. Time, good hang time, and Moore takes it to the 45, out to midfield. So Jeff Moore on the return. Zorn has a 1st down at the 50. Dornick and Smith are the running backs. And Zorn throws and overthrows Sherman Smith on the 1st down play. He was covered by the free safety Bernard Jackson. The solid outing against Oakland. Here's Dornick. Going to the 47, tripped up by the outside linebacker on the left. Bob Swenson along with strong safety. Looking for Largent deep. And he's broken up. It appeared that Largent was by, but Lewis White was able to knock it away at the last instant.
And I told you, Louis Wright may be one of the best cornerbacks that ever played the National Football League. He was beaten cleanly by Largent, but Wright, with his great final acceleration, was able to dive in front. Jim Zorn against the 5 backs all the way, and now watch, Louis Wright is beaten, but dives in front, knocks it away, and that is an outstanding cornerback play.
And Thunderfoot Weaver pops one again, able to keep it away from Upchurch, but this one carries to the end zone. And they will bring it out. For Weaver, a 47-yard punt. Wild race in the National League East. Off the play action, Reese is hauled down. Keyworth is back in the Denver backfield. Reese looking and pops one off as Keyworth with just a short pickup. That is Upchurch in motion. It's a 3rd and 16 from the 14. Reese with time, and it completes to Upchurch, who is immediately hauled down. Good low tackle to bring down Rick Upchurch. And again, the Broncos will have to punt away. Seahawks lead a 3-0. Bad snap. Got to be gobbled up. And a good play by Prestridge, who unleashes a beauty. Here's Moore at the 25. Out to the 35. 40's got the sideline. And he's bumped out of bounds. There's Craig Morton, who these days is number 2 behind Norris Weiss after leading the Broncos to 2 AFC West titles, including a Super Bowl berth. Seattle Seattle in possession, first down at the 48-yard line. This is Zorn off the play action, and he completes to Sherman Smith to the 40. And out of bounds at the 36-yard line. A first down and more. Lewis Wright running him out. And pass receiving. First down play again. This time Smith on the ground to the 34-yard line. Long count by Zorn.
Changing the play, I think, Mark.
Scott Smith, 30-yard line, and hit down hard. Getting kicked off with a benefit of extra Herrera field goal from 28 yards out. Here's Dorning straight up the middle, got the first down, and they fool the Broncos. Got a first down now at the Denver 22-yard line, and Dorning peeling off. Smith on the move, and a good move by Sherman Smith inside the 15-yard line. Again, it's Smith. He is gang tackled short of a first down. This capacity crowd urging the Broncos defense to the other down. And they do the job. Led by Bernie Davis stopping Smith. Red Miller, the coach of the Denver Broncos.
He can't go out and make the tackle for him.
It is a 4th and 1. Snap, penalty flags thrown down.
I think Denver jumped too soon that time, Marv. We're going to have to wait and see if they were drawn offside, but I think the Bronco defense jumped, and I was right.
Indication by the referee, Gene Barth, as we get another look at that play.
Kit Lathrop, 75, got his nose over that ball before the snap. That caused the fumble, and therefore the 5-yard penalty. Jim Zorn was lucky that time.
Here's McCullum to the left, Largent right. Dorning, the setback behind Zorn. Now this is Dorning. Not able to make the move outside. Hit by Steve Foley, the right cornerback. The ball was jarred loose over the sideline. And a penalty marker thrown down as Dorning took a pretty hard shot.
And I told you can't run outside against the Broncos. They're just too tough, but they can sure move when you get that yellow penalty flag on the ground.
And a personal foul being handed out. It appeared to be Tom Jackson who came over after the initial hit was made.
Watch Dorning's back foot. It slides out of bounds after Steve Foley gives him a heck of a shot to stop him. Now you'll watch. He's out of bounds now, and he shouldn't be hit. And Jackson,
first down.
You can't throw that arm in there like that. You'll get caught every time.
35 seconds left in this first quarter, and the Seahawks are threatening. They lead it 3-0. Here's Dorning. Touchdown. Dan Dorning off the right side, and the Seahawks have taken a 9-0 lead. Herrera, 5 out of 6 in placements thus far this season. Someone moves, penalty marker down, will not matter as Herrera puts it right through. Broncos again over anxious, look to be Lewis Wright coming from the outside.
Perfect call, Marv. It was Lewis Wright that jumped.
Defense, number 20 offside. Points good, will penalize on the kickoff.
So with 33 seconds remaining in this first quarter, the Broncos find themselves trailing the Seahawks of Seattle by the score of 10-0. Herrera getting set to kick off with Zachary Dixon and Chris Payne are back, and that kickoff will come from the 40-yard line off the penalty called on Lewis Wright on that placement. Seahawks with a 10-0 lead. They come in with a record of 1-2. They were beaten by San Diego 33-16 in the home opener, losing in Miami 19-10. Last Sunday at the Kingdome in Seattle, they beat Oakland 27-10. And prior to last week, turnovers killed this ball club. Last week against the Raiders, they did not commit a turnover. And strangely, Denver, despite the awesome defensive record, has not come up with a turnover thus far this season. Line drive kick by Herrera, and it gets by Dixon, and they'll bring it out to the 20. He has really had a horror show here in the first quarter.
Doesn't pay to be a rookie in the National Football League, according to Zach Dixon.
Quarterback is Norris Weiss. Running backs are Lytle and Jensen. Odoms in motion. Weiss to throw. With time. And he throws deep. And he orders down Riley Odoms. Out of the 35-yard line.
The reason this play went, Marv, was protection by the offensive line. If I'd have had a stopwatch, I'll give Norris Weiss 5 seconds to throw this football. The questionable Bronco line has done his thing. Weiss has all time to throw, and Riley Odoms can get deep on any strong safety, and that gets the Broncos out of a big hole, and they needed something to fire them up.
45-yard pass play. The first quarter has now come to a close at the end of one. The score, Seattle 10, Denver nothing. And we'll be back after these messages from your local station. Riley Odoms, 8-year man out of the University of Houston. Just hooked up with Norris Weiss on that 45-yard pass play. Denver 1st and 10 at the 35. Weiss slipping, recovering, and just does get it off. It's incomplete. Jensen lunging, could not come up with it. This is Lytle looking to follow his blockers, but could not. Gets to the 34-yard line. Number 24 in that Bronco backfield for the first time. It's a 3rd and 9. And Weiss throws deep. Interference against the Seahawks. Cornell Webster. There was no one in sight because Webster had got a job on the tight end, Riley Odoms, who is shaken up, but apparently all right.
It was safety blitz that time. Number 44, Harris. John Harris was on the blitz for Seattle. Norris Weiss read it. And I'll tell you, Riley Odoms would have been wide open in the for a touchdown if Cornell Webster hadn't knocked him down, and that's the penalty.
The Broncos now first down at the Seattle 17-yard line. Lytle and Jensen now back in the backfield. They go to the slot left formation. And here's Lytle. Pulling to the 14-yard line. Opening minute, second quarter. Denver trailing 10-0. Off the play action. Weiss throwing on the run. Got Jensen. He's out of bounds at the 10. And right here on Orange Sunday, our trailing. The surprising Seahawks off the spinning move. Jensen goes short.
I don't fathom that call at all. The Broncos' offensive line is not blocked well for the run. The draw play would have been good with a good rushing club, but not for Denver. They should have put the ball up there.
And here is Jim Turner in his 16th year out of Utah State. He's 38 years old. He is now the second all-time leading scorer in the NFL. He is 3 out of 5 this season. He's hit from 37, 24, 24. He's missed from 27 and from 32. And this will be a 27-yard attempt. And it is good. So Turner puts it through, and the Broncos are on the board, now trailing by the score of 10-3 with 12:43 left in the second quarter. We'll be back in a moment. On the right, number 24, Al Hunter, 3-year man of Notre Dame. Jeff Moore, the rookie out of Jackson State, at the top of your picture awaiting this Jim Turner kickoff. And this is Moore, fumbling. And on the recovery, out to the 10, 15, 20, breaks loose. Out to the 34-yard line. Another beautiful run by Jeff Moore. And the Seahawks leading it 10-3. Zorn throwing deep. He's got Largent, and Largent down across the 25-yard line. What a gorgeous pattern was run by Steve Largent. 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zorn this time swings it to Smith. He's in traffic and is tripped up. Up in the eye. Dornick in front of Smith. Largent to the right. McCollum left. Second back coming through, and then Dornick cuts outside and is being chased. Beautiful fake by Zorn as Wright and Thompson chase Dornick out of bounds. They had to settle for a Jim Turner field goal from 27 yards out. Hand off to Smith. Great second effort by Sherman Smith. No fancy work then by Zorn. And it was Smith who went up the middle. Rizzo departs. John Grant comes on for Denver.
Smart ball here, Marv. They've got a 7-point lead. They should go for it here.
it's Dornick, and he's got it. McCullum to the right, Lockett left, and this is Smith. Straight ahead power move by Sherman Smith.
The Bronco defensive line is just getting blown out by the Seattle Seahawks.
McCullum moving over to the right and followed across by Wright. And here is Dornick as they keep it on the ground. This time he is stacked up. Might have picked up a yard and then pushed back as the nose tackle Reuben Carter. Beautiful move off the left side as Dornick takes it in. What a fake by Zorn.
Give credit to that offensive line of the Seahawks. They're all excited and happy. Nick Bebout leading the cheers. And Dornick, all he had to do was lean, and he was right in the end zone. Take a look at the surge of the offensive line by Seattle. Give these guys a bunch of credit. A great lead block by Sherman Smith, and Dornick, with his shoulder down, is in the end zone, and they've humiliated the Orange Crush defense.
And this, the #1 ranked defense against the rush in the National Football League going in. Here is Herrera putting it right through, and the Seattle Seahawks surprising people around the country when this score is flashed. They now lead the Denver Broncos 17-3 with 8:09 left, second quarter. And the Seahawks leading it 17-3. And as a result, Red Miller puts Rick Upchurch back for the kickoff along with Chris Payne. A good boot. And Upchurch has to let it fly right by.
Can't run those back. Rick Upchurch is not effective when you kick it out of the end zone.
Broncos trailing 17-3. And Weiss to throw on first down. He's got time. And now in trouble. Able to get it off. And it's right away. And a penalty marker is down. Two penalty markers go down. The intended receiver was Upchurch, and it was Dave Brown on the coverage.
Roughing the passer against Seattle also, and this will be interesting.
Just under 8 left in the first half. Marv Albert with Mike Hafner from Denver, Colorado. Lytle back in the backfield along with Jensen. Here's Weiss to throw. Overthrows Moses. Nearly intercepted, but Webster could not hold on. Cornell Webster, the left cornerback. Off the play action, Weiss throws sideline, and he completes to Odom. First down and more. Riley Odom bumped out by Cornell Webster with penalty marker thrown down.
Again, Norris Weiss was hit after he threw the football. And I'll tell you, Carl Eller and Bill Gregory are not very happy about that call. Norris Weiss, a very active quarterback. That's his plus. Not one of your great throwers, but he can move around back there. He has Odom wide open. Now watch the late hit. You can see him go down. That'll cost him 15 on top of the game.
Here's the call from the referee.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 75 defense, first down.
Gene Barth says Robert Heartburn Hardy is called for the personal foul. That is a first down for the Broncos at the Seattle 31.
And instead of Hardy giving the quarterback heartburn, he's giving his own coach heartburn with those bad penalties.
Jack Dalvin out to the right now, and Haven Moses to the left side. Don Keyworth has come on. He's in the backfield with Rob Lytle. This is Keyworth, and he's going to throw. He's got Dalvin wide open. And it's broken up. The penalty marker's down. That'll be a pass interference. Well, Red Miller is pulling one out of the playbook. It was a floater thrown by Keyworth. Dalvin was all by himself, and it'll be pass interference on Seattle.
And I'll tell you, John Keyworth, if he would have thrown any kind of pass, he would have walked into the end zone, Dolvin. And I'll tell you, this is not face guarding. He was run into. Jack Dolvin was run into before the ball got to his hand. First, Keyworth, he knows he doesn't want to blow it. So he lobs it up, and it just hangs there for hours. I know how Jack Dolvin feels. Please come down. Please come down. And Harris hits him before the ball gets there. A great call, pass interference.
The Broncos first and goal at the 2-yard line. This capacity crowd now urging the Broncos on. They are trailing 17-3. This is Otis Armstrong, and he is it. A sea of orange here at Mile High Stadium as the 7-year pro out of Purdue, who has been a forgotten man this season, is able to turn the right side for the score.
An important thing for the Broncos rushing offense is some speed outside. And the fans in this town have been screaming for Otis Armstrong because he has that outside speed. And you'll see, he runs right away from Cornell Webster and prances into the corner of the end zone with that extra speed.
Weiss to hold for Turner. Turner puts it right through to move the Broncos within 7. 7.5 left, first half. And the Seattle Seahawks lead the Denver Broncos by the score of 17-10. Seattle head coach Jack Patera on the left, and Denver's head man Red Miller on the right side. I think Jack is thinking about those Seattle penalties. 5 penalties have cost 89 yards. An 80-yard drive, 3 plays for the Broncos with Armstrong taking it in. 17-10 the score now. And on the kickoff, Al Hunter able to get by one would-be tackler, and Jim Ryan hauled him down. To backfield, David Sims and Tony Benjamin in there for Seattle. Largent on the reception, able to push his way across the 30. Ball was jarred loose out of bounds. Zorn off the short set. Incomplete intended for Largent. 79 yards. 2nd and 10. There's Benjamin with a hole. Benjamin to the 40-yard line. Sherman Smith has come back for this 3rd and 2. That's Sims in motion. Smith for the first down and more and much more. Sherman Smith to the Denver 45. The free safety for Bernard Jackson. And here is Zorn popping for Largent, incomplete. Took a good hit from Steve Foley, the right cornerback. Some of the Seahawks thought there should have been interference. 2nd and 10. Again, Benjamin and Sims are the running backs. Beautiful fake, but it gets nowhere with Bryson Manor able to make the stop on David Sims. Seattle up by 7. And Zorn will throw, and he throws the middle. He's got Largent for the first down. Oh, is he elusive? Steve Largent picks it up. Brought down by number 43, Steve Foley.
Steve Largent has the best patterns and a pair of the best hands in all of professional football. He has good coverage from Steve Foley. It's a sharp pass, and look at the great hands. Tremendous concentration. That's the way you beat the 5 backs, with the underneath receiver. And a guy with that kind of hands is going to beat you every time.
First down at the 24-yard line as Largent gets a breather. 2nd and 7, down at the 21. And a throwing situation for Zorn. He's got Smith. Smith down to the 15-yard line. 3rd and 1 for Zorn. And Sims with the first down. Big hole on the right side. First down for the Seahawks at the Denver 13-yard line. Here's Smith looking to follow his blocker, then he cut back inside for short yardage. This is Smith straight ahead. Dive play tripped up by John Grant, number 63. 3rd and 2 at the 5. David Sims with the fumble. Tom Jackson on the tackle, and apparently the whistle had blown, and Sims was able to hold on. So it's called no game.
That was a big play for the Bronco defense. They'd given up all kinds of rushing yardage, and to get out of this with only a field goal instead of a touchdown might really help them. Watch that offensive line. This time the Broncos play it right. Tom Jackson slips inside of Sherman Smith's block. And that was the key play.
Thus a 22-yard field goal attempt by Herrera, who hit from 28 earlier. He's back in Denver, Colorado. We are at halftime, just moments away from the second half kickoff, and the Denver Broncos are trailing the Seattle Seahawks by the score of 20-10. I'm Marv Albert along with Mike Hafner, and I would think that Red Miller, the Denver coach, had much to say to his defensive unit at halftime.
The Denver Bronco defense was leading the National Football League against the rush. and I'm certain that Red Miller's red hair got a little redder at halftime, and also his face. He's got to have been upset.
Mike, how do you explain the terrific play in the first half by that offensive line of the Seahawks?
There are a few injuries on the Denver Broncos, in the defensive line especially, but I'll tell you, you got to give credit to the Seattle Seahawks front five. They've been blocking well and getting the first surge. And
this had been a much maligned offensive line, although going into the season, the feeling was that there was improvement, and we have seen that here today as we take a look at the halftime statistics.
Seattle 109 yards rushing. Denver had been giving up less than 100 during a game. Only 23 yards rushing for the Broncos. And on the other hand, the passing is dead even. And I believe if the Broncos would have thrown the ball more, they could have gotten more pass yardage.
Coming into today, Denver with a record of 2-1 victories over Cincinnati. The overtime win over Atlanta last week. The loss to Los Angeles in that Thursday night game. Seattle at 1-2. They were walloped by San Diego in the home opener. They lost at Miami 19-10. Last week convincingly beat Oakland 27-10 at the Kingdome. Prior to last week, turnovers had killed the Seahawks. The last game and a half, they have really come together. And as we enter the third quarter here in Denver, they are leading by the score of 20-10 as Jim Turner tees up the football back deep, awaiting this kickoff. Al Hunter and Jeff Moore. That's Hunter, number 24. And Moore, the rookie, number 32. Moore out of Jackson State, a 12th round selection in the draft. Underway now, second half. Hunter is chasing to the 5, 10, 15, out to the 20, and spun around and stacked up. Gang tackled over at the far side. A host of Broncos there, including Larry Evans, Charlie West, and the Seahawks will go to work. And the quarterback is Jim Zorn. And Zorn will throw on first down, and he completes to that man again, Largent, out at the 42-yard line. To walk it off right now, first down at the 42-yard line. This is Dorning with no running room at all. Hit back for a loss.
I told you you can't run outside against the Denver Bronco defense. There was the perfect example, and I imagine Seattle will go back inside now.
5 defensive backs in there now for the Broncos on 2nd and 11. Zorn with time, incomplete. Back in the Seattle lineup wearing number 35. Zorn to throw again. And he completes to Rabel for a first down. Steve Rabel shaking loose. First down at the 43. Again out of the eye. Swing pass for Smith. Sherman Smith with acceleration to the 35-yard line. 2nd and 2 at the Denver 35. Seahawks leading it 20-10. Dorning close to the first down marker. There's a check of the third down conversion situation. The next one for the Broncos will be their first. Seahawks have been successful.
Watch that offensive line of Seattle. They're the key.
Well, Sims looking to throw. And he gets away with it to the tight end, Peets. Brian Peets off the flip from Sims, who has done this successfully in the past. Little razzle-dazzle. Jackson and Foley combining. All right, he can smile now. Jack Patera pulling one off for a first down at the 15. He is smiling at the 15-yard line.
The old flea flicker. Pitch it back to Sims. He tucks it under his arm, pulls it down. And I'll tell you, if it would have been a little better throw, Peets might have walked in the end zone. But Steve Foley, along with help from Tom Jackson, prevent the score.
Sims and Smith can both throw the football. Smith was a quarterback in college. Time a short pickup for Sherman Smith. Big play with Sims combining with the tight end Peets. And here's Zorn firing for the end zone. McCullum was in and then out and back in. And it's a score.
The Bronco defense stayed home for this game. They've been torn apart by the Seattle offense, Jim Zorn's passing, and the outstanding blocking of the front five of the Seahawks.
And here is Herrera. Zorn putting it down, and it is right through. So the Seahawks now lead the Broncos by the score of 27-10, and a testy crowd here at Mile High in Denver. A glum sea of orange here at Mile High Stadium with their Broncos trailing badly 27-10 with 10 minutes 8 seconds left in the third quarter. Chris Payne on the right, Rick Upchurch on the left as Herrera gets set to kick off. 79-yard drive, 9 plays for Seattle, 13-yard touchdown pass from Zorn to McCullum. Zorn's first TD of the day, his 5th on the season. This time a short kick. Upchurch to the 20. Out to the 30-yard line. That is Odom's in motion. And Weiss in trouble. Looking to get away, and he does. The penalty mark is thrown down. Weiss out to the 50, to the 45, to the 40. Another flag is down. 3 penalty markers down, and Weiss was able to run out of trouble.
2 calls, a holding penalty on the Broncos and then a clipping penalty on wide receiver Haven Moses. So all that action by Norris Weiss will all come back.
The Broncos shift out of the eyes. Lionel moves off to the left. Jack Dalvin is back in at wide receiver. He is out to the left. That's Odoms in motion. And Weiss being pursued by Gregory, incomplete. Intended for Jensen coming out of the backfield. 2nd and 20. And Weiss to throw. Gets it away, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Harris down to the 10, to the 5. The Seahawks will have 1st and goal. Second interception of the day by the Seattle Seahawks. Earlier it was Keith Simpson, and now the 3-year pro out of Arizona State, John Harris.
Not a smart throw by Norris Weiss. He was in the grasp of a defensive player. You just can't throw it up for grabs in the National Football League, and it was up there, and Harris picked it off. Again, the Broncos in a tough situation. They're down by 17. Seattle knows they have to throw it, and Weiss tried to jam it in to Haven Moses, and Harris stepped right in front, and it was an easy interception.
John Harris, 7th round draft pick last year. This is Harris's 2nd year. Named to most of the all-rookie teams a year ago. There's Craig Morton talking with quarterback coach Dave Curley. And Red Miller looking on as the Seahawks have a 1st and goal down at the 2-yard line. Here's Sherman Smith, and he's in. The Seahawks now lead it 33-10. And let me repeat these stats going into today. Denver's defense ranked #1 in the NFL against the run. They had allowed only 2 touchdowns this year prior to today as you watch Smith bring it home.
There was just nothing to do but run into the wide open spaces, and we've got 2 quarterbacks down on the field at the Bronco bench warming up. Craig Morton and Craig Penrose. We'll see a new quarterback.
And Efren Herrera puts it right through to give the Seahawks a 33-10 lead here in Denver as you look at Craig Morton. Get ready. There's the 15-year pro out of the University of California, Craig Morton, who we expect will come on the next Denver series. Yes, he's getting ready to come on for Norris Weiss as Efren Herrera will kick off to the combination of Rick Upchurch and Chris Payne. The Seahawks now leading at 34-10. Again, a short boot. Upchurch to the 20-yard line, and hit down he goes across the 20.
Here he comes, Craig Morton.
Mike Cronin bringing Upchurch down as Morton comes on. Last faced the Los Angeles Rams in that Thursday night defeat. That is only playing time this season. Taking over for Norris Weiss, went 5 for 11, intercepted once, and his fumble led to the winning score by the LA Rams.
You'll see a lot of pressure from that Seattle defense. They know Morton isn't very mobile.
First down at the 22 as Morton calls off his first play and pops it off to Upchurch. 25, 30, first down and more, out near the 40-yard line.
An excellent throw by Craig Morton. The great quickness. He has a powerful arm. And you want to get Rick Upchurch one-on-one in the open field, watch the great quick release of Craig Morton. Even 15 years later, he can still throw the football. And Upchurch on the quick screen to the wide receiver almost breaks it. Harris slowed him down. And then it takes a tackle from Heartburn Hardy to stop him.
17-yard pickup, first down at the 39, and Morton to throw again. Incomplete. David Moses for another first down. Cornell Webster with the rush around Moses. So Craig Morton has come on and hit 2 of 2.
And I'll tell you, Craig Morton has that powerful arm. If it would have been Weiss, the ball wouldn't have got there quickly enough to make it a completion, but it's right on the button. Haven Moses with a good turn-in pattern. And Craig Morton has got them fired up, though. They're down by 24.
8 minutes left, third quarter. Denver with a long way to go. First down at the Seattle 41-yard line. And Morton to throw once again. Throws the middle and completes again. First down at the 20-yard line again. Morton with Moses. Keith Butler, outside linebacker on the right, making the stop. Morton is 3 for 3, and he's brought that club upfield.
Craig Morton can throw the football. I played against him in college when he was at the University of California. He can still throw it 20 years later. And I don't know, there might be some unbelieving people about the starting quarterback next week. Morton can certainly throw.
Lytle and Jensen are the running backs. Moses is off to the left right now, and the handoff to Jensen. Picked up a yard on the play. It'll be a 2nd and 9 at the 19. 6.5 left, third quarter. The short set. He's got Upchurch. Upchurch to the front. Works his way free inside the 5. Chuya Sissoko making the tackle, chasing Upchurch down.
I said the Broncos want to get Rick Upchurch one-on-one. They saw deep coverage by Cornell Webster. Look at those moves by the quick Upchurch. And he's down to the 2, and the Broncos are knocking on the door, and they've got time to make a run.
It is first and goal. Down at the 2, Morton has this crowd going once again. He has come out on fire and taking over for Norris Weiss here in the third quarter. Here's Lytle, bottled up, stopped at the line. Now Morton on the bootleg, looking, and whips one, touchdown!
Tackle eligible on that play. Dave Studdard, the off tackle was eligible. They set it up with the wide receiver so that the tackle was eligible. You know, he was covered all the way. I don't think they fooled the Seattle defense, but Morton found him with that great whip arm, and they got 6.
An unusual play. Cornell Webster trying to defend, giving away 4 inches to the left tackle, Dave Studdard, first-year pro out of Texas, who has just got his first touchdown in the National Football League. The tackle-eligible play, and here's Jim Carter putting it through. So the Broncos wasting no time with Morton coming on. They get it up on the board. They are now trailing with 4:59 left third quarter. Still a long way to go. They're down 34-17. The Denver Broncos scoring drive, 78 yards, 7 plays within 4 minutes and 29 seconds. Craig Morton coming off the bench and firing bullets. Al Hunter driven back on the kickoff and says, I'll stay right here. They'll bring it out to the 20. And this crowd that was quieted earlier third quarter has now come alive. 75,092, the 67th straight sellout during the regular season here in Denver. And they are rooting their Broncos on to overtake the Seattle Seahawks. First and 10 at their 20-yard line. They'll fake for Morton. And it's intercepted. Swenson on the intercept. The Broncos will take over inside the 25.
Watch the tremendous pressure by middle linebacker Randy Gradishar. It forces Zorn to throw the ball before he wants to. He tried to hit his tight end Peets, and Bob Swenson is there to pick it off. And the Orange Madness is getting madness.
And Mike, that's the first turnover this season that the Broncos have been able to come up with it. In game number 4, as Swenson picked it off, Morton, who is 5 for 5 for 77 yards. Running the Broncos right here. Gets the quiet. And fires right side. Complete to Upton. Oh, they stay out of bounds. And the Broncos argue. That's Rob Lytle over. Arguing the call.
You must get both feet down inside the line. Rick Upchurch running the corner pattern. Morton is right on the button again. The guy is hotter than a firecracker. 1 foot. Uh-oh. It sure looked to me that he was in. Of course, the referee and the back judge has a better angle than we do. Might not have had control of the football. And I wouldn't put on one of those striped shirts and hang a whistle around my neck, so I'll let them call it.
2nd and 10 at the 24. And now the handle. Here's Johnson. Big hole. And Johnson brings out of the play. First down for the Broncos.
An excellent call by Craig Morton. It takes some pressure off him when he can get the running game going also.
Morton is 5 for 6 now. And he throws for Moses. Touchdown! Even Moses. And the Broncos are right back in it.
The old pro Craig Morton on a time pattern. They want to throw it before the cornerback turns around. Cornell Webster never had a chance. A perfect throw again, Marv. He's been on the button with every single throw.
It is now Broncos trailing 34-23, and Turner will try to cut it down to 10. And he does. We have 3 minutes and 48 seconds left in the third quarter. This game is turned around off a passing clinic that is being engineered by Craig Morton. We'll be back in a moment. Craig Morton, a man who has had his ups and his downs in his career with the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, and with the Denver Broncos. But today, way up, coming on for Norris Weiss, and leading the Broncos to 2 quick touchdowns. The second off the intercept by Swenson. And the Broncos trailing at halftime 20-10, outside 34-24. As Hunter is sent all the way back, and that's just where he will stay. Tremendous move by Jim Turner. It has been all Denver here. Following the early moments of the third quarter, when the Seahawks were able to move in front by the score of 34-10. Last time that Zorn looked to throw, he was picked off for the 7th time this season. Gordon and Smith, the running backs. This is Sherman Smith looking to go wide. Cannot. Smith could not make the turn. Pursued over to the left side. Gradishar and Grant combining on the stop. Second down play. And Zorn to throw. Looking for Ferguson. Tipped away. Oh, beautiful play by Swenson.
I'll tell you, the Bronco defense is fired up.
Third down, 18, and Mile High Stadium is shaking. Fans stamping their feet. We could hardly hear ourselves talk. Here's Zorn. Overthrows intended for Rabel. And Seattle forces to give it back to Denver.
They're fired up, those guys in the orange jerseys, making it awful tough on Seattle. And if Morton remains as hot, Seattle's going to be in for a big, long fourth quarter.
Herman Weaver, 10-year pro out of Tennessee, leads the National Football League in net punting yardage, coming off a great day, having himself another fine day. Upchurch is back in single safety, and a bad boot, straight up. Denver will have tremendous field position.
Herman Weaver got the apple and shanked one off of his foot. Oh, you can't give that momentum. Keep giving it to him, to the Broncos. Herman Weaver knows he needs a big booming punt. He doesn't get it. He tried to rush it a bit, and it shanked off the side of his foot, went straight up in the air, and the Broncos will start at their own 34.
Mike, that goes down as a 17-yard punt by Weaver, who has been booming them at 40 and 45 a clip. First down for Denver at the 35-yard line. Clance for Morton. On the double pump, he whips one down.
I think it's against Seattle. It is.
Yes, it counts. Morton to Upchurch. And it is now Denver within 4. Seattle leading at 34-30.
Watch Greg Morton, the old pro. It's the stop-and-go pattern. Rick Upchurch runs the hook. There's the fake. And a perfect throw again. I can't believe the day that Craig Morton's having, and the great speed of Upchurch gets him open. Morton hits him on the button, and we got a football game.
Now Jim Turner, who has been perfect, will try for the extra point. Denver moves within 3 as Morton has come on within a short time, has thrown 3 touchdown passes to the tackle studded to Moses, and now to Upchurch. 2:25 left third quarter, and Seattle leading at 34-31.
What a day for number 7, Greg Morton. What a quarter, I should say. Mark.
Standing ovation for the Broncos. Seattle coach Jack Patera trying to figure out how to put a stop to this Bronco drive. Here's Turner. And another boomer. Al Hunter decides to run it out to the 10. Down at the 17. First down at the 16-yard line. Dorning in front of Smith out of the eye. And Zorn in trouble. Down he goes. Get the quick whistle as Jackson was all over. Zorn was looking to knock the ball loose.
The Bronco defense has been inspired by the play of Craig Morton. They were terrible in the first half. In the second half, when Morton came in, they've gone insane. And now, Seattle in a deep hole. And again, the Broncos have a shot.
Less than 2 minutes left, third quarter. It has been a Bronco barrage here in the third. Sherman Smith picks up some running room getting across the 10-yard line. That huge lead has evaporated. They now lead by 3, 34-31 off the 3 consecutive touchdown passes thrown by Craig Morton. Zorn throwing right, got Dorning out of the 15, but stop. That's it. Lewis White, the left cornerback, 5-year man out of San Jose State, one of the premier cornerbacks in the National Football League, ending that Seattle drive. Hosting, starting 12:30 next Sunday. This time Weaver able to get a good one off. Upchurch to the 40. Going going wide, 45. Midfield, look at him, weaving, twisting, turning down to the 40.
Should have been tackled at least 4 or 5 times. The little guy is so hard to catch up to. He's also learned how to catch a pass on the end of Craig Morton's aerials. Watch these moves. Outstanding individual job by Rick Upchurch. He has a sixth sense about where the holes are. He breaks one tackle there. He's going to break 3 or 4 more, and the little water bug is really hard to pull down. Gives Denver tremendous field position again, and they're only within 3.
First down at the 40. Morton is 7 for 8. Steve Watson has come on at wide receiver, but this time Morton goes to the ground, and it's a short pickup as this third quarter has come to a close. And a hand for the Denver Broncos. When we resume, it'll be 2nd and 9 from the 39 in the fourth quarter. From the 39, Craig Morton throwing 3 touchdown passes within 2 minutes and 34 seconds to bring the Broncos right back. Here's Morton. Able to get it away to Keyworth. John Keyworth with the first down, plus additional yardage.
And Craig Morton, who is said to not be able to move, scrambled out of the way, found his third receiver, and a great effort by Keyworth.
Choiasa Sopo bringing Keyworth down. There's Norris Weiss, who is replaced by Morton early in the third quarter. And Morton is now 8 for 9. As this ball club completely fired up, the Denver defensive unit turning around. 1st and 10 at the 27. Moses slot right, Upchurch, flank right. Armstrong spinning through. Looking right side and complete. Riley Odom, diving catch. Able to get back up because he went down by himself. And it is another Denver first down. Cornell Webster and Michael Jackson finally able to cover up.
Craig Morton getting excellent protection. He's had time to look over the field. Riley Odom had come in motion, and Morton waited for him to clear. And again, he's going to get a shot in the back, but Odom goes down on his own. Nobody touches him. And he gets back up and gains another 5 yards, and Morton is still hot.
He is now 9 for 10. He has a 1st and goal at the 8-yard line. Upchurch to the right, Moses slot right. Lytle and Jensen are the setbacks. This is Lytle. Inside the 5. Picked up by Choiasa Sopo from the 1-yard line. Here's Armstrong. And he is short. Now Lytle and Jensen, the running back. Here's Lytle. And Lytle is in. And the Broncos have taken the lead. Season, giving Denver a 37-34 lead. Now Turner with Weiss to hold. Snap was messed up. So the Broncos failed to convert.
That leaves them with only a 3-point lead and maybe a little incentive for the Seattle Seahawks offense. They can now tie it up, force this game into a tie at least. The Broncos take the lead on a score by Rob Lytle. Excellent blocking by Paul Howard and number 71, Claudie Miner. You see Howard's kick-out block to give Lytle the 1 inch he needs to get in the end zone, and the lead for the first time today for the Broncos.
7 plays, 40 yards, 27 straight points put on the board now by Denver. They were down 34-10 early third quarter. This is Moore on the return for Seattle to the 15. And run out. He's out of bounds. Right across the 20-yard line. Run out by backup defensive end Bruce Radford. Go to work right here. First and 10 at the 20-yard line. Dorney and Smith, the running backs. The quarterback is Zorn. And he looks to throw on first down. He pops it out, but it's underthrown. The intended receiver, Sam McCullum, who was not looking that way, he did not expect Zorn to unleash that quickly. Logic peeling off. And Zorn to the air again. Through the hands of Ferguson. It was covered by Bernard Jackson. And then back home for the Chargers. Third down 10. Zorn with time. He blocked it away. Intended for Sherman Smith. And again the Seahawks are stopped. Denver going with 3 deep men. But Upchurch, the man in the middle. Weaver booting from his 11th. Upchurch. 35. Goes wide at the 40 and fumbles, but fumbles out of bounds. Into the Denver ball now. Inside the 40 off the 49-yard punt by Herman Weaver. Denver coach Red Miller saying to Craig Morton, listen, Craig, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
Just keep doing it because he's perfect already.
First down at the Denver 37. Broncos down 37-34. They have scored 27 consecutive points. Handoff for Jensen. Penalty markers are down as Jensen is tripped up by Keith Simpson.
Illegal motion offense, number 88, refused, second down.
The deep back is Keyworth. Haven Moses not able to hold on. Juggling act by Moses. And Upchurch right. Morton is now 9 for 11, 149 yards and 3 touchdowns. Throws the middle and he completes it. Riley Odoms, first down. He stepped out at the 40. And Morton has done just that. He has come through.
Greg Morton's stock has gone up. Holy mackerel. He's uncanny today.
All right here on NBC. Morton able to unload to Upchurch. And Upchurch struck down inside the 35-yard line. In the 2nd and 3 for the Broncos. Morton off the play action, going deep. Oh, just knocked away. Haven Moses, the intended receiver, and was broken up. Keith Simpson, number 42, who was able to intercept a Norris Weiss pass earlier in the game, able to get his hand on that toss.
Keith Simpson just got a hand on it, deflected the ball just a bit. Otherwise, Haven Moses would have been in the end zone for a touchdown. Watch the play by Simpson, 42, deflects the ball right there just enough so that Haven Moses doesn't get a chance for 6. Great play by Simpson, a first-round draft choice.
It is a 3rd and 3. Moses has caught 3, Odoms 5, and Upchurch 5 as we watch Otis Armstrong pick up the first down. So Craig Morton going to the ground, and he's picked up an important first down. Craig Morton spent 10 years in Dallas, 3 years with the New York Giants that he would like to forget about. 2 years here at Denver, won 2 AFC Western titles, plus the Super Bowl berth. Unofficially, 9.5 left, 4th quarter. On the draw, straight ahead. John Keyworth picking up yardage.
Illegal formation offense. The tackle was uncovered. 1st and 15.
How's that for next one?
Say that again, run that right by. Here's Morton in difficulty, and down he goes. Craig Morton is sacked. And a timeout is called now by Denver. So Morton to the sidelines to talk things over with the 2nd and 27 upcoming. Apparently they have readjusted the clock. You see 8:32 left, 4th quarter, and that is correct. At the Seattle 46. This is Keyworth on the slant left. Jensen is the lone deep back. And Morton to throw. And in trouble, gets it away for Upchurch. Broken up. And here is the rookie out of battle, Luke Prestridge. He will try a directional punt. That has been the only rep against him. Still not able to successfully direct in these short yardage situations. And as we see right there, as Jeff Moore takes, but good coverage by Denver to pin him back. That time Prestridge got a break because it was a tough one to handle. Chris Payne in on the tackle of Moore, and a timeout has been called with 7.5 left in the fourth quarter, with the score of the Broncos 37 and the Seahawks 34. 75,000 plus here in Denver. 67th straight sellout crowd during the regular season. 7.5 left fourth quarter. And it's a 1st and 10 at the 8 for Jim Zorn and the Seahawks. This is Dorning. Straight ahead once again as Swenson was able to make the tackle.
I don't want to tell you I picked Tampa Bay.
Completed to Dorning. Out of the 30, it's another first down for the Seahawks. The crowd urging the Bronco defensive unit on. Sherman Smith off the stutter step. 45, 50. Beautiful move by Smith off the huge hole that was set up. Again at the Denver 47. And Zorn to unleash deep downfield, and it's picked up. Steve Foley on the intercept intended for Steve Largent. And the Broncos with another turnover. Zorn intercepted for the 8th time this season and 2nd time this afternoon.
Steve Largent had his man beat. Steve Foley, number 43. You can see Zorn. He looks at him all the way. That's where he's going. It looked like the ball slipped in his hand a bit because it was underthrown. And there was the interception that might have turned this game in favor of Denver.
For Foley, his first interception of the season. And the Broncos take over first down at the 13-yard line. Moses to the right, but the handoff for Jensen tries the left side. Morton on the bootleg, but did not fool Seattle's Bill Gregory. For the Broncos in this 3rd and long. Big rush. Penalty marker down as Morton fumbles, picked up by Gregory, but the play is whistled in.
There's that new rule in the National Football League. As soon as the quarterback is within the grasp of a defensive player, the whistle is blown, and they blew it before Morton fumbled. There's also a holding penalty on the play.
The Broncos called for the hold.
That new rule is a big break for the Broncos. It could have been Seattle with the ball inside the 10.
Holding, 71 offense, refused, 4th down.
And the punt by Prestridge. Good hang time as Moore has to backpedal out to the 50 and fumble. Recovered by the Denver Broncos.
Very interesting, Marv. It was a rookie return man who put Denver in a lot of trouble in the first half. And now it's Jeff Moore, the rookie, who fumbles the punt. Jim Ryan recovers, and the Broncos have had it all go their way since 2 scores by Seattle to start the 3rd period.
3:55 left in this 4th quarter. Picking his way through is Jensen. Jensen to the 46. Reeling off 27 straight points, 3 touchdowns thrown by Morton. As you see the clock running down, Lytle and Keyworth, the setback. Moses in the slot right, Upchurch wide right. Again to the ground, and breaking clear is Keyworth. First down at the 45. Denver coming in at 2-1 off the overtime win against Atlanta. Seattle at 1-2 off the 27-10 win over Oakland. Next Sunday, Denver will be at Oakland. That's Jensen bottled up. Robert Hardy, another rookie out of Jackson State, 10th round draft pick, who has been a big surprise, starting at left defensive tackle, making the stop on Jensen. 1 yard advance, 2nd and 9 now at the Seattle 33.
They'll let it run to the 2-minute warning, Marv.
Well, Seattle decides
that'll
to stop it. And right here, during the course of the timeout, let's go back to New York. Brian Gumbel has an update on what is going on in the NFL.
Okay, Marv Albert, thank you very much. Been a very busy Sunday here this 4th week of the season. Let's give you the finals that we've got up to the minute. New England a winner over San Diego today. Final there 27-21. That's the first loss for the Chargers. Buffalo Bills come up big. They beat the New York Jets 46-31. Jerry Butler 10 catches, 255 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Detroit a winner for the first time. They beat Atlanta 24-23. Houston in overtime on a 29-yard field goal by Tony Frisch keeps the Bengals winless 30-27. Another overtime game. The Vikings beat the Packers 27-21. It's Pittsburgh 17, Baltimore 13. The Steelers are still perfect this year. Washington 17, St. Louis 7. That one a final. Another final, Kansas City over Oakland. Final there 35-7. Philadelphia over the Giants 17-13. Seattle, Denver, you are watching that one. It's a 3-point ball game right now. Chicago a loser 31-16. It's 21-6 Tampa Bay over LA. New Orleans beating San Francisco 30-21. Let's go back to Mile High and Marv Albert.
All right, Bryant, Marv Albert, and Mike Hafner back at Mile High in Denver. We have a 2nd and about 8 for the Broncos following the timeout that was called by Seattle. Denver now at the Seattle 32-yard line. We have 2 minutes, 17 seconds remaining as you look at Jeff Moore, who fumbled on that last punt return, giving the Broncos the ball right where they are right here, picking up yardage following that fumble by Moore. Rob Lytle able to shut off one tackler, but not able to get going. Robert Harney all over Rob Lytle. Picked up a yard, perhaps. 3rd and 7. They spot it at the 31.
And here goes Magic Craig Morton again.
But first, the 2-minute warning. When we resume, it'll be 3rd and 7 for Denver at the Seattle 31, with Denver leading by 3. 2 minutes left, 4th quarter. Seattle and Denver each with 2 timeouts remaining. It is a 3rd and 7 for the Broncos at the Seattle 31. Looking for Upchurch, and he throws it way off the mark. Upchurch with a turn-in, covered by Kerry Justin. I don't know. What do you think?
I'd run another play, run some more time off the clock, try to get another first down. It's not good field position for Seattle.
Well, here is Prestridge, this time looking to put it in the corner, but it goes too far, and that means Seattle will take over at the 20-yard line. 1 minute and 48 left in regulation. And when we resume, it'll be Seattle ball. There is the man that could be the guy as we go down to these final minutes. Efren Herrera's 2 for 3 thus far today. Seahawks are trailing by 3, 37-34 as they take over back at their 20-yard line. And Zorn will have to move his punt upfield in a hurry with 1 minute and 45 remaining. Zorn with time, throws it short. Intended for Ferguson out near the 40-yard line. 1 minute and 43 remaining in the 4th quarter. That's Largent in motion. That's Largent on the reception. And he did pick up the first down. He went out across the 30. Charlie West, the extra defensive back, able to follow him across, out of bounds. Now Zorn able to complete as Largent stops the clock, runs out across the 36-yard line. It's 1 minute and 34, as you see, left in this 4th quarter. And the Broncos leading at 37-34. They were trailing 34-10 in the third quarter, and then it was the Craig Morton show. Here's Zorn, who's been very quiet. It is deflected. Swenson controlled. Aggressive play by Bob Swenson, his second interception of the day. Tom Jackson was able to make contact to knock it away, and Swenson coming up with that football on sheer aggression.
Bob Swenson just wouldn't let anybody get near the ball, and you talk about a unit of linebackers that work well together. Tom Jackson tipped the ball up in the air to his teammate and linebacker buddy Bob Swenson, and the Broncos are back in business.
It's Denver ball at the Seattle 45 with 1:28 left in the fourth quarter. Upchurch left, Moses right, Lytle and Jensen the setback. Here's Jensen. Gets to the 41. 4-yard advance, 2nd and 6. And a timeout called by the Seahawks. And there is the guy this afternoon.
Oh, Magic Arm did his thing, didn't he, when he came in? I wonder if there'll be a question about who starts the game against Oakland next week.
Somehow I don't think so. 36-year-old Craig Morton ripping off 3 touchdowns within 2.5 minutes. Big lineup of football here on NBC next week, starting with NFL 79 at 12:30. The 1 o'clock games will include Cleveland at Houston.